Okay, welcome to the first edition of a podcast that doesn't have a name. Let's see if I can talk a little louder now. Okay. Okay. What are we doing today? We are talking about NASCAR versus F1 Formula One, because I've been playing both games. F1 has turned into something that I don't really like anymore, and a couple of factors have led me to keeping up with NASCAR Cup Series and honestly all the other series too. So I have now kind of learned a little bit about NASCAR, and I know quite a bit about F1 because I've been watching F1 for, gosh, what is that now? We'll call it 5 years. We'll call it 5 years. I've been watching F1 for 5 years, and I've been watching NASCAR for, let's say, about 1 year, or maybe less, but that's not the point. Just wanted to compare the two because there's a lot of obvious differences when it comes to being a fan, but I kind of have a little bit more insight, or what I think is more insight, because I play the game and of both. I play the NASCAR game and the F1 game. Just wanted to include this. This is my sim rig behind me. Have a picture of because right now it's that black box, but normally it has a wheel attached to it, but it comes off because it's like super cool. Moza. So the wheel's on the ground, which I will show in a little bit, but I played both games, so I know how they are, kind of the differences. I play NASCAR Heat 5, which is like a 2020 to 2021 game, so it is like an older game. It's not like I'm playing the newest NASCAR game. And F124, which is, I think, technically 2 years old, but it's really 1 year old. So the reason I don't play the newer F1 games is because they're not getting any better, so why spend $60 if the game is going to be the exact same? And I have the NASCAR game because it was on sale on Steam, and I figured, why not? I got the sim, might as well try it. Yeah, so there's a lot of differences. I have a couple notes just to talk about it. When it comes to racing, the racing is obviously different. That's probably one of the biggest things as a fan that you see. NASCAR is pretty much about being in a pack and having a draft partner, or having your teammates, help you, because usually a NASCAR has like a certain speed. It can, like, especially a super speedway where you never actually get out of the gas. You're just foot to the floor the entire time, the whole time, right? In NASCAR, the difference between being by yourself and being surrounded by cars in a draft pack is literally like 15 miles an hour, which is a lot when everyone is almost the same speed. So if everyone can go, whatever it is, 180, or I honestly don't really know, because especially when I'm playing the game, I don't really check to see how fast I'm going. But let's just say it's 150, right? But everyone is going 150. They might be going 148, they might be going 153, kind of the same thing. I'll get into qualifying in a second, but pretty much the racing there, it's all about being together and using the cars around you to help you, and taking advantage of tiny things. Taking advantage of the margin. One of the things I want to talk about is the margin as well. So just racing in general, NASCAR is very close, obviously, and F1 is definitely more spread out. A lot of gaps, people getting lapped. NASCAR you get lapped too, just because the tracks are shorter, but it's just a different thing. First major difference, I would say, because these are kind of just comparing. It's not really saying how they're similar, but mostly comparisons. And that comes when what's at stake when a driver crashes. So in F1, when a driver crashes on track, it's usually like almost an isolated incident where they'll hit a barrier or they'll spin out, hit a barrier. No one's really affected. In both racing categories, there's cautions, and so the cars, that whole thing is similar. But in terms of like crashing, there's a way less chance of something happening to more than one or two cars. Like if they crash together, obviously two cars involved, but if there's only one car involved in Formula One, usually that's all, and everyone else does just fine. Except like at the very, very beginning, going into the first turn, that's usually when multi things will happen, but that's just for like maybe 30 seconds, whereas NASCAR, it's the whole time. So in NASCAR, when you crash, you might be taking out 3 dudes. You might be taking out the whole thing. What was it? Talladega. We just watched Talladega. I just watched Talladega. That was last weekend, I think. And on like three-fourths of the way through the race, the guy in like the third row from the front spun out and literally took out everybody. There was just smoke, and basically from the third row to probably the last row, everyone just gone, smoked. See you later. You're either getting taken out, or you're driving into smoke and someone who is already out you're crashing into them, or they're spinning. Like, it's carnage. So it's honestly kind of crazy. I would say in terms of like the overall experience, I think that's what makes NASCAR a bit better than F1, is the fact that and I'll get into the safety too. That's another important thing, is the safety. But in terms of NASCAR, I think having crashes that are not life-threatening but involve more and more people are just inherently more fun to watch, instead of just seeing a guy in F1 like oops into the wall, and then now everyone's got to redo their strategy, whatever. So that's one of the big things in terms of racing. Also, how close the cars are. NASCAR is like a regular car. Like, it's not a regular car. It's like fully custom, but it's the size of a regular car, and it looks like a regular, like there's still like body panels and everything. F1 is just open wheel. So if you're in F1 and you barely touch a guy, both teams are like, hey, do I have damage? I hit him a little bit. Is there any damage? In NASCAR, you can kind of just, rub, hit, bump, push. It don't matter. The chances of a catastrophic failure is so low. And you'll see guys who win races that have like their cars all scratched up, because you can, rubbing is definitely racing in a category like NASCAR. So I think that's another thing that I think makes it a little bit more exciting. But I guess one thing you can say is, NASCAR is aimed to be stock car racing, so each car is like not stock at all. Like, you're not driving anything close to what a Chevy Camaro is, or a Ford Mustang. They make it look like it, but it's not like it. They might be this similar size to them, but they're not a stock car. But it's derived from stock car racing, so that's why it's kind of the same thing. In F1, it is a purpose-built race car, and so everything that is done to it is not for looks whatsoever. It is purely for function. So that's why, but I mean, that's what separates the category anyways. I just think it's more exciting, rubbing is racing and all that stuff. Balance of the cars. So I put this in here because I put this in the racing section of my notes, but it really should be in the game section, because just from now on, just when I say something about the cars and driving, I'm talking about how it feels on my simulator, not how it feels in real life, because I don't drive the cars in real life, obviously. But balance of the cars, having similar windows. Both cars, if set up properly, you can drive it fast and feel confident that it's going to do what you need it to do. With the right setup, it will drive how you want it to, and it will behave, and it'll have grip. However, when you get it out of the window of, like, the car being happy, or especially when the tires start going bad, and you kind of have to balance between, going past what the tires are now capable of as they're degrading to what it normally was at the beginning. That window, I think, is equally the same. I think that in general, the way that NASCARs are set up, I think that they are a bit more touchy when tire wear starts to set in, because in F1 you might slide more, but usually I don't have a problem with like crazy oversteer or anything when the tires are degrading. But in NASCAR, they literally set them up to be driven well around a turn, and so it doesn't really take much to spin out, which is kind of crazy. So both cars you can get into a balance to where you can rip laps and feel super confident going fast, but they all have a window. I just think NASCAR is a little bit bigger, which does make it difficult. However, in practice, most teams don't have the most optimal setup because everything's always changing. So I would say game to game, this is how it is. Because I believe that I have the most optimal setup, or near the most optimal setup for that game, for that track, for that car, because it's always the same game. It's not changing like it is in real life. Here's another thing. With enough money, anything is possible. That, I think that's kind of like super obvious for F1, but in NASCAR, it's also true. If you got sponsors, you gotta drive. If you got sponsors and you got a team that's willing to work with you, which that might be like, oh, it's still, no. With enough money, any team would work with you. Now, obviously, in NASCAR, you have to pass like their driver's test. So like, if you do have enough money to get into the series, they make you drive the car, make sure that you have the skill enough to drive it before they put you in a race, because then they're putting everyone else's life at danger if they just let just a regular Joe Schmo drive it. So they do have that, but just like F1, NASCAR, if you got the money, anything's possible. If you're a 55-year-old man who is much out of his prime, but you still got enough money, guess what? You still got your NASCAR Truck Series drive. You're not going up to Cup, but you still got a seat in the Truck Series. Or in the Xfinity, which in my game it's Xfinity. They just changed to O'Reilly's, but it does not matter. It's just the one level below NASCAR. They look the same. Not quite the same. I don't really know the difference, but team share engine manufacturers. This is kind of a similarity. I've seen it talked about with NASCAR, and just in relation to it's like two different things. So teams share manufacturers or engine manufacturers, but it operates completely different. So in NASCAR, you got Toyota, Chevy, and Ford. And so when you're in the thick of it, the people that are also in Chevys, if they're not going to win the race, they'll try and help whoever's in front of them win the race, right? Because they're all the same manufacturer, right? Which right now I think in general, Toyotas are considered like the faster car, but I don't know enough about to talk about that. The difference is in F1, the teams choose to purchase engines from one main team. So, for example, I think McLaren F1 team buys engines from Mercedes F1 team. So you got like the biggest teams, the fastest teams make the engine, and then the lower level teams who don't win as much, don't have as much money as the top level teams, they purchase the engines from the top level teams so that they don't have to do it themselves. The difference is there's no help. There's no help for R&D. You just get the engine and then you figure it out. There's no like, oh, McLaren, they're not going to win, but Mercedes will. Let's help them out. No one's helping nobody out. It's purely a transaction, which is definitely not the same in NASCAR, which doesn't really matter too much, but it is interesting difference, truly. And it kind of just goes back to show you like the difference in how the racing is. I say this biasly because I watched F1 for 3 years before I went to a race. But as a person who fully understood F1 and attended a race, and a person who understood zero things about NASCAR and went to a NASCAR race, both experiences were equally fun. And I think, in my opinion, if I had no idea how F1 worked, or had no, whatever, didn't care what happened, just was there just to watch race cars, I think NASCAR is better. I think NASCAR is more entertaining from an unbiased experience, from a first-time experience, for sure. The racing just feels closer, and it's just more exciting when you got cars just. I've got videos on my phone from the 2024, I think. 2024, 2025. We went to the last 2 years of the NASCAR finales, which is in Phoenix. And the first time we went, I had no idea about NASCAR. I was an F1 fan. I didn't care about NASCAR. But we went, and that was really exciting, just to see cars going really fast in a circle. It seems dumb, but it's really exciting to watch in person. It's super loud, and it's just an exciting thing to watch. And Phoenix is a short track, so they don't even go that fast, but it seems like they're going super fast, and it's probably because they are. But I think from someone who's doing it for the first time, NASCAR is more exciting to watch and more accessible, but for Americans, and we'll get into that too, especially now, because, alright, fans and culture. F1 is obviously worldwide. Right now, we have 3 races in the U.S., which in my opinion should only be 1, but that's because I love racing and I hate the Miami Grand Prix. If you don't know, look it up. Miami Grand Prix sucks. Just happened literally today, and it sucks. I hate that track. I will say the reason I don't like Miami is because of the track. Racing, that does not include any racing, which this year racing was kind of boring anyways, but that's not all the track's fault. But I would say a lot of my opinions about the racetracks are because I race them virtually in the game. So yeah, anyways, very important thing that I thought I should mention is the fact that F1 is worldwide. So there's 1 race in each country. The US is really big, so we have 3 now. But the series is worldwide, and it's like a national event. NASCAR is obviously a US only thing. People compare F1 to IndyCar mostly. IndyCar is also only a U.S. thing. Luckily, the U.S. is big enough to have a freaking entire racing series only be going in the U.S. You know, we got 48 inland states. Each of them can be the size of one country, or 2 or 3 could be the size of one country, and we have 48 of them. So that's a factor. But F1's worldwide. NASCAR, in terms of a fan, right now I'm wearing my Dale Earnhardt shirt, which he was in NASCAR well before I became a fan, but he's just got this Dale Earnhardt has eternal aura, which aura is a new term, but that's what he's got. Dale Earnhardt Sr., because his Dale Jr., his son, is still alive, but he's got eternal aura, which is why I still got a shirt, which is why I just bought this shirt, and why you can still buy this shirt. Drivers from Dale Earnhardt's era, they don't have t-shirts for sale right now. They don't. Now where I got this, I'll tell you that right now. So that's an interesting thing. I would say from a American fan's perspective, NASCAR is more like, I like the fans better. Myself, as a motorhead, car-loving American, in my opinion, I think that F1 lacks that rugged, cool culture that NASCAR has. NASCAR doesn't always embrace the culture, but they got the culture. So I definitely like that more from NASCAR. I think I identify myself as more of a NASCAR type fan than a F1 type fan. Nevertheless, one thing F1 does have going is the speed and the prestige. There is literally zero argument that F1 is not the pinnacle of the motorsport, the fastest car around a track you can possibly buy. Nothing is faster than an F1 car around a track, or at least a track big enough for it. Nothing's faster than an F1 car. And so that level of prestigeness, obviously NASCAR can't compare, right? But that's just a difference. So, that's one thing that keeps you going. And the reason why I have stopped caring as much about F1 and started, crossing the line closer towards NASCAR is because F1 and the FIA body that controls the rules is pissing me off with these stupid rules about, hey, let's be 50% battery power instead of 20% battery power. Oh, and we're going to be 50% battery power, but we're going to have the same size battery. Which makes no sense, because now the battery lasts half as long. They were doing so good, and then they screwed it up this season, so I'm not a huge fan of that. This whole new rule system, I'm just not a huge fan of, which is why this podcast even exists, because this is all stemming from deep down anger from a person who used to just put off NASCAR, like, I don't need to watch that. There's no need to watch that. I got F1. F1 is the best. Well, not anymore. Not anymore. Don't piss me off. Alright, back to the motorhead. Back to the fans. NASCAR is V8 powered. They're restricted. They used to be faster. They cut it down. I don't really know much about it. I just know they used to be faster. Now they're restrictor plate, all this stuff. But it's still V8 power. And as an American, there's nothing more that I love than a V8 engine. I'm just saying. We got V8 gas and we got V8 diesel. Both pure freedom, pure awesomeness. Loud and proud. NASCAR, V8s, loud, proud, no emissions. That's another thing this stupid F1 does, is we want to be emissions positive by 2030. No one cares. No one cares. We don't care. What are the emissions in you're racing? If you want to stop emissions, do it for commercial airliners. Don't be making your racing series stupider, more dumb, because you decided that you want to save the planet. No one's asking the fastest cars in the world to be more emissions friendly. Okay? Stupid idea. NASCAR doesn't have that, which is why I like it more in that aspect. F1 is pissing me off. NASCAR. Back a little kind of jumping back to the whole manufacturers thing. One thing that's cool about NASCAR is since they do slightly resemble regular cars, people that already love Chevy can just pick their favorite Chevy car and just be like, I'm a fan. Or like for me, the first time I ever went to a NASCAR race, I had no idea who anyone was, but every time a Ford Mustang went by, I said, yeah! Because I love Ford Mustangs. To be fair, disclaimer, I love Chevys. I love the Corvette. Camaros, couldn't give a shit. But that's the nice thing about NASCAR is the fact that they're still sort of resembling a regular sports car. So a new fan can be like, I like Fords. Let's root for the guy who's driving the Ford Mustang. Simple. Okay. So another difference between like the fan section is F1 drivers are backed by an entire country. Okay? You've got, in F1 you got drivers who come from the same country, but let's take for example a guy who's not in F1 anymore, Zhou Guanyu. You might be thinking, what kind of name is that? He's Chinese, so that's why that's his name, Zhou Guanyu. Okay? This man was in the slowest car on the grid. Ended up like 15th place out of 20 cars. Didn't score a single point. But he was the only Chinese driver, and when they went to the Chinese Grand Prix, the entire country of China was behind this man. He did not score a single point in the race, pulls up, gets out of his car, stadium erupts because he's Chinese and they're in China. You don't get that in NASCAR. Everyone's American. They don't care. So, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is drivers in F1 have a natural fan base. Unfortunately for us Americans, we do have 3 races now, but the only American that has been driving in F1 that has been good, because Andretti's the famous one, but the last American driver sucked, and so he got dropped with that after 2 seasons, which in my opinion was too fair. I think he should have got dropped earlier, but you know, he was bringing in that money, so they had to keep him a little bit longer. Transition. Let's transition to the game. My experience driving the game and kind of why I feel so strongly about this in certain ways. In both games, there's really not much difference. If you look at NASCAR qualifying and you look at F1 qualifying, it's tenths of a second. 1/10 here, 1/10 there. In NASCAR, if you see the guy qualified number 1, 32.5 seconds, and you qualify 32.8 seconds, you think, oh my gosh, that's pretty close. No, it's not. You probably are going to be, let's see. You'll probably end up like 5th or 8th, no, 5th to 7th, I'd say, probably. Not 2nd, because it's just 1/10 of a second. Same thing with F1. Now, with new rule changes, it's a little bit more dragged out, but still 1/10 of a second for qualifying. So that's a pretty major similarity, which I think makes, I guess that just shows that whatever the rules they're doing work, which is nice. I made a point about the F1 games being like feeling different based on the rules, but I can't really say that because I don't have any experience in newer NASCAR games. So the same pitfalls I'm experiencing might be fixed. I don't know. So we're going to skip that because I can't talk about it. I don't feel good talking about it. All right. Back to the basics. NASCAR. As a person who has played the F1 games on a simulator for, let's say, honestly, 3 years? No, 4 years. As someone who has played F1 games, no, we'll say 5, because I had F1 21 too, and the whole time I've had a simulator. So, 5 years I have been playing, 4 or 5 years, doesn't matter. 4 or 5 years I have been playing F1 on a sim. And I've only been playing NASCAR in a sim for the past 3 months? 2 or 3 months, which is not that much time. And turning left should be easier. I mean, sometimes I get angry because I'm thinking, and I'm in F1, each track's got like 15 corners. In order to be competitive, I gotta do 15 corners just the right way to be fastest. NASCAR's got 2 turns. Technically, they break it up into 4 turns, which I don't get that. I think it's stupid. They say turn 1 and turn 2 is the same turn, but it's just one big turn. I'm really not sure why they do that, but they do. NASCAR's got 2 turns. Sometimes it's got 3. It should not be that difficult, and yet they make it difficult. I don't know why. So I guess that might just be a me problem, but I just feel like for whatever reason, it's difficult to turn left when it shouldn't be in certain cases. I digress. Might be a skill issue. This is kind of for both, but mostly for NASCAR. Rules are rules, right? All the cars are mostly similar, but there's still a margin that you can improve on. It just so happens that every team is in the same margin. So you got car, and then you got like the little, I guess this is mirrored, so I guess it would be this side. But you got this little margin, right? This is the race, this is the margin. You got this little margin. Well, it turns out all 35 drivers are in that margin. So that's fun. And everyone's trying to get the advantage. But that's just how competitive racing goes, Yeah. I'm just kind of blabbing now, so we're going to move on. But it should be easier. The brakes are sensitive. Oh my gosh. Again, this could be a me problem. But the brakes are so sensitive in NASCARs. I've heard people online talking about, oh, you got to go in turn 1, smash the brake, get that car slowed down in time, keep going. The brake pedal is so sensitive on the NASCAR. I don't understand it. It's super annoying. In F1, you smash the brake, get it slowed down, do a little trail braking, got to be smooth with it, racing 101. In NASCAR, if you push the brake too hard down, all 4 tires are locking up. The hell's that? Don't matter what, you just got a little bit. It makes me so angry. I don't know why they're so sensitive. For a series that does almost exclusively tracks with a banked turn, the cars don't turn in well, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I feel like NASCAR as a whole, the cars they just don't work. Oh, they just don't work like they should, and it doesn't make sense to me at all. Wheel-to-wheel racing, already talked about that. Roman is racing America. I will say one thing that NASCAR has that F1 doesn't, which I don't want to say is unfair, but That's why I wore this hat, just to show how American I am. I'm a patriot. I love America. I love this country. NASCAR just has all that. It just has all that. And F1 don't, because F1 is only in America. And to be honest, I would say more than half of F1 fans hate America. They hate America. They hate the American races, I should say. No one's like, oh, we're going to America. I love the races. No, because half the tracks are BS. And the one track that we do have is like pretty good, but it's not the best in the world by far. So, that's a bit annoying. So, that's kind of one thing, is the patriotism that I enjoy. Just thought I'd throw that in. Science and air rules all. I think there's a difference between having a car that uses the laws of science and air, and then there's a difference between using it with other people. I think NASCAR, the whole aerodynamics thing is pretty simple. If you look at a NASCAR compared to an F1 car, you would see what I mean. I don't want to dumb NASCAR down, but in terms of racing with other people, F1 is very much a, how can I make my car fast? NASCAR is like, how can I make my car aerodynamic, but also, how can I use other cars to be faster? Talk about side drafting, like, in terms of how air plays into each series, F1 is very much a me, and NASCAR is very much a, how can I use other cars how can I use other cars and the air relationship between me and the other car to make me faster. So it's like a team thing. It's very strange. But yeah, they just use air differently. So here's an interesting thing. In F1, it's known that when two cars are battling, they're slower because they're not following the ideal racing line. They're not getting everything perfect, right? So when they're racing each other, they're off the racing line, whatever. In NASCAR, it is so weird. It is so different. Qualifying the race could not be more different. Because in qualifying, you're trying your absolute best without any help from any draft partners to be as fast as possible, following the ideal racing line. In the race, I don't know that anyone ever follows the ideal racing line. I mean, there's only so many ways you can take one turn or two turn racetrack with a bank turn. I mean, everyone's going left together. Everyone's in a pack. Everyone's going left together. So qualifying and racing could not be more different. Because you can be following, and again, this goes back to the using the rules of science and air with people or with other drivers in the race. The guy in front could be racing on the ideal racing line and be passed by someone who just made a bunch of, tiny little changes because they're using drafting. So qualifying and racing is very different. If you watched one video, you'd understand why, but the fact that they have different lanes and you're always switching and you're either high, low, in the middle, whatever, 2 wide, 3 wide, it could not be more different. And it's very strange for someone like me who, in NASCAR, it's all about how can I use the people around me to be faster and get up front, In F1, it's like, I need to get past this person, because if I'm battling this person for too long, I'm screwed. Very, very different. And the reason I bring this up so vividly is because you can qualify bad in NASCAR and you can still win a race. If you qualify 15th at Talladega or at Daytona, you can still win. You can still win. I just watched the Texas Motor Speedway race truck series between mostly Kyle Busch. We'll use Kyle Busch because he's the one I'm talking about. His teammate don't matter. Kyle Busch started like 15th, went on dead last. He was in dead last and he ended up second. That's the power. That's the difference. It literally, if there is 100 laps or 200 laps or 250 laps, it does not matter where you start at all. Which is so strange because F1 qualifying means so much, but it does not matter. The cars change positions so frequently, it does not matter where you start. If you start, like, in the game, I have started 15th and got first place. I have started 18th and got top 5. Like, oh, sorry folks. It's crazy. It's honestly insane how different it is. It does not matter where you qualify, to be honest. You can win. If you put your car in the right spot and you stay out of trouble and you don't crash and you make the right reads and you take the opportunities when they come up, you can literally go from 15th to first place. And and I'm not talking 100 laps. When I'm in this game, which this could be unrealistic, but we'll get into that. But I'm talking 26 laps. You can go from 15th to first. You know, in reality, it's probably like 50, but still, I mean, come on. Let's see. So both series are hard. NASCAR, you've got 2 to 3 turns, less turns, fewer things to master. But because there's fewer things to master, it's easier to master them, which means it seems like everybody is at the same level. So it's just a very strange thing. Yeah, less turns to master, easy to mess up. I would say for F1, there's more turns, obviously. Instead of 2, there's like 15 to 20. It's harder to master, but I would say for anyone who enjoys racing and can get in the flow state, which most people can that enjoy racing, once you get in that flow state, it's pretty easy to be consistent with enough reps. So it ends up still being kind of the same thing. Like, there's certain turns that are easy to master and easy to get right every single time. But in NASCAR, there's so few things that if you mess up slightly, like I remember the last race I did was Homestead, Miami in the NASCAR game. And there's 2 turns. There's literally 2 turns. If I messed up the braking on one turn, I went from being 2 car lengths in front of a guy to being 1 car length behind a guy. And that's a braking mistake that's like not even that significant, and it still screwed me up that much. So it's just kind of ridiculous. Skill issue again, but just thought I'd say something. We already talked about the bumping and rubbing and shoving of the cars. Alright, versus F1. Talk about the F1 game. Qualifying qualifying does matter. Qualifying in F1 matters a lot. In certain races, qualifying is the only thing that does matter. But we're not going to get into that, but if you know, you know. In F1, qualifying matters a lot. Qualifying tells you a lot. Qualifying tells you who's fast. And let me throw up a picture. Actually, I don't want to throw up a picture because I don't have a picture. I wish I did have a picture. I don't have a picture. I have a couple pictures, but I don't have a picture of that. But pretty much, whoever is the order of qualifying ends up being, in general, the order of the race, unless something crazy happens. But that's that. So in F1, qualifying matters, and it really does show you what's up. F1 has battery. Now, this is my perspective of F1 24, which is the version of F1 that is slightly refined, because they did the rule change in 2022, so they had 2 years to refine the cars, and this was before the current battery disaster that is F1 right now. They have battery aids to overtake, which NASCAR does not have, and they have batteries that can bail you out. If you have a bad turn, in F1 and they catch up to you by 0.3, you can use your battery to make sure they can't overtake you, which is nice, kind of a bailout, something NASCAR does not have. The cars look generally similar. There's more rules, but they're not as specific. Less specific rules, but there's more of them. And I say that because the cars are customizable. There's rules, they all look generally the same, but if you look at like the side profile, if you look at the cars from the side view, you can tell the difference. If you know like which teams are which, you can tell the difference. But the cars all look generally the same because there's rules, and there's more rules like for each portion of the car, but they're not as specific, which is nice. Yeah. I hope this is productive. This is like my second podcast ever. I'm the most inconsistent YouTuber of all time because no one watches these. I just really wanted to have a yap session about this because F1 has been pissing me off lately a lot. And I really am starting to enjoy NASCAR, but it's like kind of the opposite. I enjoy the F1 game. I really don't enjoy that much the NASCAR game. Man, I just had lunch. NASCAR itself, I love. I don't want to say I love. I really enjoy watching. Current F1, I can't stand it. Ask me 2 years ago if I liked F1, I would have said, I never miss a race. I never miss a session. And now, I watched the 8 minutes of highlights on YouTube and I'm like, good enough for me. It's pissing me off. So this video is basically me trying to explain my transition from being a high-level F1 fan and not a NASCAR fan to regressing because F1 is screwing everything up, and now I'm becoming more of a NASCAR fan and I care less about F1. Both series are great, but I think there's more eyes on F1, and I think it is easier for F1 and the people that make the rules and all the top people that decide what happens in F1, it's easier for them to mess it up. It's easier for them to mess up their sport than it is for NASCAR to mess up their sport. Oh yeah, screenshots. So let me change this real quick. A little bit. We go back. Okay. So this is the wheel. I have my DRS button. Sorry, folks. There we go. Now you can see it. Dang. I'm like, shoot. Okay. DRS button is right here. And then I have all these colors so I can but this is my wheel. This is the screen in front of me. I move it down from my desk. But this is the GT style wheel I use. There's a paddle here, and then there's 2 clutch behind here. You can't see it. And then I got my brake bias, but this is considered a GT wheel because it doesn't have as many of the fancy buttons that F1 cars usually have, and it doesn't have like a little screen. I got it because it's the cheapest F1 style wheel I could get, and it's absolutely fantastic. This is what it looks like. I wanted to show this. This is from my race last night. This is me. I am a white. What country is that? Dang it. Jamaica. I am a white Jamaican named Felipe Drogovic. Which, if you think that doesn't make sense, that's the point. And if you think I'm confused, just look up people who are from Jamaica and look up the name Felipe Drogovic, and you'll see that this combination is impossible, which makes it funny, to me at least. So, you got the cars. This is my teammate, which is why it's highlighted. I'm driving for Mercedes because I'm an F1 fan, but I wanted to beat them because that's not the point. The point is, you can see how over the space of, I think this was 20 laps, each lap is about a minute and 32 seconds. You can see in 20 laps the margins between each driver. So basically, if I'm in the lead, if I completely stop for 9 seconds, I'm still beating Norris. I show this purely because this does not happen in NASCAR. People don't win by this kind of margin in NASCAR. This stuff happens regularly in F1. This does not happen in NASCAR at all. Nobody wins by this much. The field is not spread out this much in NASCAR. People in NASCAR win by 1 second. They might win by 3 seconds. 3 seconds might be a major gap for most races in NASCAR. It just doesn't happen. Most of the time, you win it at the line. You win it on the last lap. F1, completely different. I knew I won this race at lap 16 of 20. I knew if I didn't make any mistakes, I was winning this race on lap 16 out of 20. Because by the time we did all of our pit stops, I was 4.5 seconds ahead of Max. I then saved my tires until Max Verstappen was about 2 seconds behind me, and then I proceeded to spend the next 3 to 4 laps trying to drive the car as fast as I possibly could, and I got that lead back up to 3.8 seconds. So there's that. I wanted to show this because this is the AI difficulty that I'm on, that I used last night. I did have it turned up to like 104, but I turned it back down to 101 because I am now a super casual player, and I only play like maybe like once or twice a month, which is really bad. I need to do it more. So I had to turn it down, but I could easily turn it back up to 103 and still win the race. But I just want to show you that I am not driving at a low level. I just wanted to make it clear. That I'm not a 65 level driver trying to tell everyone why my opinion matters. 110 is the max, and normally I'm at 104 to 106. So I'm dang near the fastest AI will possibly drive. And I'm not going to side rant on why I play so low, but if you look it up on the internet, you'll figure out why. So this is not me bragging. This is just me showing that I'm not some casual player. I play on the hardest ultimate level settings, and this is still the result. Okay, Max is a 95 level driver. Okay, and he started in front of me. I started second, as you can see. I want to show you this. This is my disclaimer. We're going to wrap this up before we hit 60 minutes. this is my disclaimer. This is my custom assist. So I don't drive with steering assist. I don't drive with brake assist. I do drive with anti-lock brakes because I just simply haven't tried to not use that. And I'm such a casual that I would rather not flat spot my tires and just run anti-lock brakes than turn it off and have to like try and relearn it like every couple of weeks. So I just have that turned on. The only thing this does is prevents the tires from locking up, which I think 90% of the time they don't, but this is my disclaimer for a reason. I do have the racing line on for the corners. I have pretty much mastered every track. I am just a person who is lazy, so I use the braking points as a general guideline. Normally, I don't really pay attention to, like, ooh, as soon as it turns red, let me smash the brakes. It's more of a suggestion, but I don't want to have to be like, oh, we're almost to the 100-yard mark, let me start braking. I don't want to have to memorize that. I'm too much of a casual to do that. So I have this on. It's on 2D, which means it's not blasting my face, but once I see the red, I know, like, okay, and then I can kind of, based on where I normally, it still flows, but I use the racing line for that. I know where I'm going. Disclaimer, like I said, everything else is off. I do have pit assist on, which basically, it's kind of like a cheat code that I use, but it basically means that when I'm entering the pits, the game automatically puts the car into the pit limiter so that I don't have to. So the reason I say it's a cheat code is because when I'm in a race, I can basically floor it and basically enter the pits at full speed, and the game will automatically slow me down which is not possible in the game. Like in real life, you can't do that, but I do it because I can and I like to. So it saves me, like, I don't know, 2 seconds or something. So that's my little cheat code. And then pit release assist basically means that when the tires are done, the game automatically pulls out of the pit box for me. And you might be thinking, Steven, wouldn't it be cool? I don't care. I don't care if it's cooler that I just turn the pit assist on. I'm here to race. I'm not here to learn how to master a pit stop. And then gearbox is on manual, obviously, because I have the shifters and I'm a big boy. Was there one more? Thought there was. Oh. Okay. I told myself I wasn't going to show that, so I might have to edit that out. But, yeah. Pretty much, we'll wrap this up right before, but that is my disclaimer, but also just wanted to show everyone, aka the 2 people that might watch this, or the 1 person, or the 0 people, but if someone ever does watch this, this is the disclaimer of why I'm not just some guy. I actually know what I'm doing, and I've spent way too much time in my sim. I think I spent 400 hours on F1 21, and I spent 300 hours on F1 23. I can check right now, actually. Let me look. This is not that hard to figure out. F1. Ooh, yeah, 30 seconds. Ooh, I don't think I'm going to find it in 30 seconds. That's okay, we'll go a little over. F1 21, 388 hours. F1 24, which is the one I play right now, 200 hours. F1 22, 144 hours because I did not like that game. F1 2020, 70 hours. So, yeah. I played a lot. And you might be asking, why did it go down? Well, because the F1 games kept getting worse. So, there's that. Alright, beautiful people. That is it for me. Thanks for watching this or not watching this. That was my rant. See you next time. Thanks.